Hey gamers, it's me. I think I finally understand why this weird piece of paper was printed. I think it was telling me something. Something scary. But it does actually remind me about third episodes. I should actually tell you about them, shouldn't I? I mean, 2 years ago today I talked about first episodes, and 1 year ago today I talked about second episodes. So why not? Well, let's talk.
Third episodes of TV shows normally follow up on what the second episode and the pilot put in front of us. While the first episodes introduce the characters and the second episode basically introduces the story of the season or show, the third episode truly brings us into the world that the characters live in. Let's have a look at some specific examples in order to figure out how it goes. The third episode of the US version of The Office follows Dwight Schrute as he's been put in charge of finding the right healthcare plan after Michael Scott put him in charge because he was too lazy or something. Michael is originally put in charge of picking the healthcare plan as, in established in other episodes, Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch, the branch that we're following in this show, could be downsized. Michael picks the most expensive plan as he doesn't really understand what's going on or what's happening. Jan has to come in and tell him the bad news, that he just needs to pick a provider and then they'll pick the cheapest option.
You always gotta pick the cheapest option. That's why I bought Hell's Kitchen for the Nintendo Wii. It's super awesome and super cheap.
Meanwhile, Jim and Pam are having a chat at reception, as they always do, before Michael tries to put Jim in charge of the healthcare plan. Jim, obviously, doesn't want the workers to be angry at him, so he puts Dwight in charge.
Because apparently the brightest idea is to put the idiot in charge. That's what I always do. Great idea, Jim.
Dwight does it. Dwight always does it. Dwight's like a teacher's pet, but in an office. Dwight gets incredibly power hungry and tries to see how many people he can fire. Dwight gets a temporary workspace, which Dwight pretends is an office. Dwight hands out a memo that slashed the healthcare plan so significantly that it does save money, but to the point where it's just bad. Everyone is shocked. Even Creed. Michael pretends that he has lots of work to do while playing with a toy truck, and Michael pretends that someone is calling him and forgets that it's Pam's job to do the phones.
Oh, that must be my phone that somehow appeared here even though it wasn't here before. Hello? Oh, hi, it's nice to meet you. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say. Why would you say that? That's so incredibly rude. I'll see you there too. That was the third episode machine. Rumor has it, he's mad. Anyway, what's happening? Oh yes!
People get angry at Dwight for cutting more than he had to, and Dwight says that he's never been sick. Michael Scott hides in his office, but Kevin realizes that he will have to go to the bathroom. While Michael leaves the bathroom, everyone surrounds him, so Michael tells Dwight off. Michael says he has a surprise. Does he have a surprise? Of course not. He's just trying to make everyone happy. He thinks that this is the way to make everyone care about it. Is that how it works? No. Dwight then makes a form to try and work out what healthcare things people need to be covered. Michael then tries to get a surprise. He thinks that a good way to do that is to travel to Atlantic City. He tries to tell the travel agent about how his job works.
Why do I get the bean bag and that tiny thing gets the chair?
You know, I never really thought of that.
That makes more sense. So you're the travel agent, right?
Yes, and as I said, there is no way to find the third episode machine. He's gone into hiding.
No, I know a way. You just need to find a plane and then travel on that plane.
Are you telling me how to do my job?
Jim and Pam start to joke about the diseases purely to mess with Dwight, such as spontaneous dentism. Michael then tries to get a trip down to the coal mine and talks to a guy who suspiciously sounds like Creed Bratton. Dwight gets angry about the made-up diseases and mentions how it's a felony. Dwight decides to interview everyone like he's a police officer, and tries to blame Jim. Jim then locks Dwight in the workspace. Then Dwight gets even more power hungry and says that he is the manager for the day, even though he's the assistant regional manager.
The assistant to the regional manager.
Dwight then tries to get Jim fired by calling Jan. Obviously, it doesn't work, and Jan gets angry that Michael put Dwight in charge. Michael then gets ice cream sandwiches as a surprise and talks to Stanley about how this isn't the surprise, as this surprise would just be disappointing, as they've had such a bad day that it's gotta be better than this. Somehow the conference room door gets opened and Dwight goes through the diseases with the staff to see if they were real or not while Michael eats some ice cream sandwiches. Dwight embarrasses Kevin, and they all go on their very way while Michael still hasn't thought of the surprise. Michael then tries to use improv to get out of the surprise. Of course it doesn't work, and then the episode ends. Just like the rest of The Office Season 1, it ends on a somewhat sad note, showing that Michael Scott is in the wrong. However, you can see how the third episode truly explores the world that the show is in, with it being the first episode that actually leaves the office in the office. Let's talk about a different third episode. The third episode of Marvel's Agent Carter shows how Peggy went from working in the war with Captain America to now working at the SSR. She now works with Edwin Jarvis and Howard Stark to see who is working on a big conspiracy called Leviathan. This episode deals with the fallout of the previous episode and shows the SSR taking care of Edwin Jarvis, thinking he has something to do with this Howard Stark thing, as the SSR thinks that Howard Stark is hiding from the law. The episode shows Edwin Jarvis getting out of the SSR, working with Peggy, and revealing a big secret that he had done. This episode explores the world that Agent Carter is in, and explores the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. This episode ends with Ray Krasminski, an agent of the SSR, being killed. They blame the shot on Howard Stark, and the episode ends after showing that Ray was cheating on his wife. Hey, this show's really good.
At least it's not another Birds of Prey show. So, the machines. As you know, the first episode machine was used to make the first episode of Marvel's Inhumans, and the second episode machine was used to make the second episode of Marvel's Inhumans, so I can only assume that the third episode machine was used to make the third episode of Marvel's Inhumans. Speaking of the third episode machine, I think I see it now! Continuing the tradition of what I would call the second Nintendo consoles, this is a knockoff SNES controller. As you can see, made by Honeybee. Who are they? Hopefully better than Mad Cats. Anyway, this controller, it's not very good. I don't really know what it does. Maybe if I just keep pushing all the buttons, then maybe something